Hi, I'm Shayn Jackson. I'm the industrial designer for Sonic Liberation Devices, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, but based in Brooklyn, New York. I met Lita as a part of the New Museum's incubator, New Ink. I'm there for my creative technologist practice. I do a lot of work that's digital, interactive, sculptural, that thinks about indigenism and the African diaspora and how can we connect this through time and space using technology and digital fabrication methods. I was really moved when I met Lita at the beginning of my second year, which was her first year, just listening to her story and everything that brought her from NYU to where she is right now. And, as people do, we ended up linking up, right? And she gave me her story again. Obviously, I loved it, and she told me that she was trying to collaborate, which I was more than happy to do. Honestly, I was waiting for it the whole time. So things are working out. My background obviously is in like concept work and furniture design. I have like this deep appreciation for material and the methods that go into, finishing them. Coming into a project where I'm developing an electronic instrument, there are some staples in industrial design practice that a lot of us designers feel compelled to do, which could include, a chair, a lamp, but then also consumer electronics is a really big part of that. So I've had some experience in like the aesthetics and the materials and the methods that go into producing these types of things. But the reason why I was really so drawn to this is me and Lita met for the first day. She's like, "We want you on the team. We want you to freak it. Do whatever you want to do." I'm like, say nothing but a word, right? I will freak it. Indeed, I will freak it. What I bring to this though is this, knowledge of color, material, and finish that are usually used in this architectural space, household decorative object space, and this interior design space that, just from the research that we were doing and developing this product, you don't see so much in this consumer electronic space when the processes are like but a stone's throw, right? They're not so much different or so much more difficult. Maybe there's like an added step or cost component that comes in, but it's nothing that people that are working in, building fabrication aren't already doing at scale, right? And since we're working on a much smaller scale, it felt like a great opportunity to intervene and to subvert this space. And this was a big part of our discussions and the concept development, right? So much of the materials that are used are just the cleanest industrially manufactured things available, right? Is it quick? Is it easy? Is it cheap? The place where it felt like a great place to intervene is just, we can keep those same clean, easy, cheap, but then also just add in textured, cultured, decorative, beautiful. If anyone looks at the mood board, they'll see that we had a bunch of very, very, very speculative like riffs on what it could be that weren't, the classic rectangular prism that we're working with now and that many people work with. I feel like part of my design process is very research based, right? Like I want to know what the market looks like, what the competitors look like, because these things, they're not in a vacuum, right? A lot of the things that we see and we consume look the way they do because that's the easiest way to make it. It's the thing that makes the most sense. So it's like, okay, I can take from that, but then obviously we don't want to recreate something that's going to blend in. So once I've done this research, once I've seen what these competitors, what this market research looks like, I'm able to kind of see where are clever places to intervene upon that. It just felt like, oh my goodness, wait, we can literally do the exact same thing that everyone else is doing, but in a way that's so much more poetic, right? And then I'm doing my research on woods, and I'm starting from a place of, just raw, maybe like a lightly treated hardwood, like a cherry, a walnut or something. Then in my research, I'm seeing that there's subtle staining, subtle oil treatments that can take the grain of this hardwood and just add such a color pop that makes it really unique. And then I'm saying that there's ways to treat stainless steel that's not hyper intensive, but also looks incredible. Again, like these are all things that if we were architects and we were building, a building in downtown Brooklyn or Times Square or Midtown, it would be like, okay, these are things at our disposal, right? I think that's part of like my, background in this design space is really just what gives me that, awareness of this, because now I'm like, wait, why save this for a building when we could make something so sweet with it, right? And then also to have this device that's going to be able to like reach so many people, hopefully. My favorite part about working on the project besides having, so much respect and free reign and trust in the team, has really just been like fellowshipping with y'all, like getting to meet all you music nerds and hear y'all talk about XLR cables every single time we meet, right? It's just been a pleasure, right? And, broadening my community, making my life better, right? So that's been a great time. And I love like, all of our talks and discussions and just how free and just like how much fun that we bring to this, how much play that we bring to this, and how everyone is aligned for this mission, like purely for the mission, right? I think if someone were to take one thing from the aesthetics, like the finish, the material of this device, is just to know that there are no limits to the things that we interact with, right? Like just because all we see in tech is anodized aluminum, milled stainless steel, doesn't mean that that's the period, and I think that's like one of, the arguments for diversity, one of the arguments for having so many different people with so many backgrounds in the workroom is that you get all of these perspectives, you get all of these dreams and visions, and like, I'm someone who always wants to intervene, right? So regardless of what I'm making, I'm not so concerned about building an entirely new structure as much as I am working with what we have and, like we said, freaking that, like making that so much more fun, lively, and I'm sure that maybe my professors from school are gonna like look at this and be like, you could have saved like $50 per unit, right? Which affects your overhead, and maybe that's true. But I think that if we're able to make something that like someone, I think about when I was young and my cousin had one of those transparent Game Boys, and I always thought that that was the coolest thing ever, right? It's just not like some black stainless steel box, right? It's like the color, the whimsy, the play that like brings us all in, right? And I think if part of our goal is to bring in a whole new set of people into this, having something that, dangles in front of them like candy will only make that easier. I feel like it's counter to the mission to, grift and strip people and extract their wealth, right? So everything that every penny is because of the labor, because of the expertise, because of how much passion went behind this, quality materials, top tier, processing, right? Like all of it plays a part in building all of this, right? And honestly, like I think that we're not really an outlier even when it comes to price point. So I think like getting something like this from a small team, a small batch of production, a limited edition collectible, right? Like these things, like the price point makes sense for the call, like the price of materials and labor. And I think like for so many of us, especially Lita, it's important to remember this equity, right? Like this intense draw towards keeping everything as clear and crisp and respectful as it is possible, right? And I think this respect also, extends to all of our audience, all of our supporters, all of our clients and customers, right? Like we're not trying to extract, right? We're trying to build something sustainable, competitive, and long lasting. So for me, like so much of it about it is this like decolonial thought behind music production, behind consumer electronics, right? And if my whole practice is based in how can we use a decolonial thought of, way of thinking to interrogate our, manufacturing methods, interrogate our consumption, that really was highlighted when Alita pitched me to join this team, right? Because we're thinking of something that first off is highlighting people that are often erased and often forgotten. And then two, we're trying to make this accessible and, reach communities that, historically haven't had the most access to this. And then, right, Lita, just like you said, like could have easily gone to a big, experienced design firm, right? Maybe it would have been harder to convince them to do this for delayed compensation, or maybe there would have been another grant that's applied to cover all of that process. But just her faith in me, in my process, and just like vibe checking that we're aligned in these ways, like was really special to me, right? So I think for me, like the mission was really the best thing, and like the story behind it, and this decolonial hope and spirit, and anti-capitalist like method, like it feels like it's something that like I would be stupid to pass up on, right? But yeah, I love being able to make stuff in-house, right? We must secure the means of fabrication and manufacturing production, all of it.